Hey, all you hot listeners, this is episode 35 of Husband and Wife Talks. This episode mostly is going to be about our visit to Park City for Marta's wonderful birthday weekend. So, we get into a little bit of history and our experiences there and some fun times that we had. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey, Marta.
Hey, Adam.
How's it going?
It's been better. I've
Okay.
been feeling a little under the weather, unfortunately.
Man, that's one of the reasons we are a little late on our podcast. Apologize to everybody out there.
So sorry. Although we decided to push through, even if it doesn't sound 100%, because we got to be there for our hot listeners. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So, today has 3 national holidays. Today meaning Thursday, February 7th, when we're releasing this podcast episode. It's National Periodic Table Day, National Send a Card to a Friend Day, and National FETTUCCINE Alfredo Day. Adam, out of those 3, which one do you think is the most random that you would not expect to be a national holiday?
Probably send a card to a friend.
I agree. It's really wordy. Like, couldn't you have a more concise name for that day?
I don't even know why it is a holiday to begin with.
That's a great question. So, I think it was started so that you can send friends a card in the mail and let them know that we're thinking of them. Because a lot of times you think about your friends and how they're going and you might miss them and remember memories you have together, but no one really sends written cards in the mail anymore. So I feel like that's maybe why it got started, although I do agree it is random.
We got a thank you card today, though.
We
So
did.
that's
It was
first.
it was handwritten. It was from a wedding. Handwritten beautifully, and it had like a really nice wedding picture on the front. Wow, that's kind of ironic.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the only time nowadays you get handwritten letters is if you go to a wedding and they have to write handwritten thank you cards.
And it's so weird because literally today I was thinking, I don't know why I was thinking of it, probably that the fact that we haven't gotten our mail in a few days. And I was like, oh yeah, I went to that wedding in October, and I don't remember getting a thank you card. But then I remembered reading that the protocol is like you have 6 months or something absurd, so there's plenty of time. But I can talk about the next 2 holidays, which National Periodic Table Day. I don't really know what the point of that day is. Like, you just appreciate and further understand the periodic table, I guess.
Well, you should appreciate it since you were a chemical engineer.
I should, but one, it brings back memories of classes that I didn't necessarily love. Organic chemistry, I'm talking to you. And 2, I don't do chemical engineering day to day, so I just feel like all the knowledge I did have about chemistry and the periodic table, I guess just the facts about it, I don't really remember anymore. But, I mean, it's not fun. Cool, interesting, I guess. The way that the elements are lined up and, like, the atomic numbers, I think they're called. I don't know. It's been like 10 years since high school chemistry, so forgive me if... Oh my gosh, it literally has been almost 10 years.
Aren't you supposed to be able to list them off? Isn't that something you were supposed to do? Remember them, memorize them, learn them, know them off the top of your hand?
Yeah, the main ones, like the carbons, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, phosphorus.
I feel like I saw a while back somebody that I knew had a periodic table shower curtain.
I do too. Like, I knew someone as well, and I don't know who it was. It was someone in college.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember the person either. I just knew that I knew someone that had one. I guess if you gotta study whenever you can, especially if you're a chemical engineer or a chemist.
Although I feel like a shower time is like when you just think about random things, and sometimes you sing in the shower, and hope no one hears you if you don't have a great voice. Like, can you imagine me right now singing in the shower? That would... Yeah, exactly. Don't want to hear that.
I remember there used to be a song that my chemistry teacher showed us in high school. I think it's called just the Periodic Table of Elements song by Tom Layer. I think that's what it is. That's what it looks like. I'm looking at it right now. I can't play it on the podcast because I don't think you would be able to hear it. But
So
it just
is
rattles off.
Does it just go through all the elements by atomic number?
Basically. From what I remember.
Interesting. Huh. Well, National Periodic Table Day. Really can't say I was excited to learn that it was that day, nor am I excited to celebrate it
Did
or
we
observe
even mention
it.
the day that we're recording on right now?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Thursday, February 7th. And the last day is National Fettuccine Alfredo Day, which sounds delicious. Apparently, it's one of the most popular pasta dishes in America.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Used to be my favorite dish until I realized I needed to stop eating a bunch of cheese and pasta. So there's that. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I don't eat fettuccine alfredo. My favorite dish, pasta dish of all time was not lobster ravioli, shrimp ravioli from a old Italian restaurant back in Jersey. I love that dish.
Huh. That is actually a new piece of information, since I always thought it was baked ziti.
Mm-mm.
But I guess this is the evolution of Adam's pasta.
It would be, and I don't know why I mentioned it at all, because there's nothing related to fettuccine or alfredo. But
no, it's related. It's related to pasta.
It was ravioli with shrimp in it, obviously, and cheese, and then it had vodka sauce, which I love. It's like cream. It's kind of like Alfredo, but creamier and orange. So really enjoyed it. And the restaurant also gave us delicious bread, which back when I was younger, I would eat so much bread.
I could see that. If you ate a lot of pasta, you'd probably eat a lot of bread.
I thought you were making a fat joke for a second.
I could tell you eat a lot of bread and a lot of pasta. No, just kidding. But did you know the history behind fettuccine alfredo?
Nope. I'm assuming you're about to get into it.
Oh, I am. Because it's pretty fascinating to me. Not like pretty fascinating, like the most interesting thing I've ever heard, but just like, cool. So apparently an Italian restaurateur, restaurant owner, I guess, he created it in 1908 after his wife gave birth to their first son, and she didn't have an appetite. So he wanted to encourage her to eat. So he created a dish of noodles, cheese, and butter. And she liked it so much that he put it on the menu at his small restaurant in Rome, and people all over the world have been enjoying it ever since.
Sounds like he created macaroni and cheese instead of fettuccine alfredo, but I guess back in those days, you need something fancier than mac and cheese.
I mean, if I had lost my appetite, that would get me to eat too.
True.
I mean, unless I'm lactose intolerant and then eating a bunch of creamy, buttery, cheesy sauces, upsets the stomach. But yum.
Yeah.
Talking about that makes me hungry now. Ooh. Delicious recipe at home. Primo fettuccine alfredo recipe.
We can't have pasta or cheese, or that much cheese anyway, on our fitness challenge.
True. Although there's something about being sick that just makes me not care about what I eat. Which is ironic, because when you're sick, I feel like you should care more because you need to heal your body.
So you want to get a pizza right after this?
I don't know. We'll let the hot listeners, we'll leave them hanging about what we're eating for dinner today. I mean, I don't even know what we're having for dinner, so it's kind of...
Honestly, the choices that we have since we've been back and forth, haven't planned our meals this week at all. So the meal that we sort of have going for us tonight doesn't seem that appetizing, in my opinion, but it's sustenance. So I'll be happy with it. I'll just be happy to eat something other than a protein shake.
I mean, to be fair, and we'll get into where we've been and what we've been up to lately, but I just got back to our apartment last night, so it's not like I had time to meal prep or do any of that.
Man, I feel like the tiredness or maybe your sickness is rubbing off on me because I don't feel that great as we record. Sorry to everybody if I sound monotoned and dull, but that's just the way I am at the moment.
At least your voice sounds good, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like you're talking through your nose.
Or talking through a bunch of mucus sitting in your throat.
Wow. Ew.
Gotta give them a visual.
Maybe that's not the best.
This is a very visceral podcast. They get sights and feelings and everything.
How about you envision fettuccine alfredo?
Instead of mucus?
Nice, wide noodles covered in that creamy,
that nice green
cheesy sauce. Ew, can you please stop? It's really gross.
Okay.
The only green thing I want to think about is broccoli. Delicious.
Not like pistachio gelato or
that. I was thinking
or
like healthy. Also, there's a piece of broccoli in this fettuccine Alfredo, so that made me think of it.
No, so much health.
I know. There's
saves the dish.
4 pieces I can count of tiny broccoli.
Florets.
4 tiny pieces of broccoli in this huge pasta dish. So that really isn't a lot of vegetables, but whatever. Should we get into what we've been up to lately?
Sure, why not? You can lead the way since you've been doing it.
All right.
The
So,
whole episode.
we have been skiing. Shocker. I know, it's shocking. We've been skiing. But our ski trip was not in Colorado. I know, also shocking, giving you some time to, mentally accept this crazy news. Anyway, we went to Utah, about 40 minutes outside of Salt Lake City, to Park City, which is a ski resort that's on the ski season pass that we have, so we didn't have to pay extra for lift tickets or anything, which is why we went. And it was really, it took my number one favorite ski resort spot. It's now there, over Vail, which is a big deal. Adam, what do you think? Where does Park City rank on your list of favorite ski resorts?
I don't know. I've only been there once, so I don't want to compare it to anything at the moment. I still like the other ones more because I know them more. But I did like the variety that Park City offered since it was so large. It's the largest one in North America? Is that the...
Yeah, largest ski and snowboard resort in the United States.
Yeah, so it's like 7,000 acres or something. And
rattling off the facts, I am impressed. It is over 7,300 acres. That's right.
Yeah, it's large and has a lot to offer. It wasn't originally that way, but we'll get more into the history of Park City later on as like a little tease as to why it's so large to begin with, because it wasn't that case before. But I did appreciate that it was a lot on the price-wise, it's a lot cheaper, so to speak, than going to those other resorts in Colorado. Specifically, the main thing is that parking is free at Park City, which is pretty impressive for such a large, well-known ski resort in a relatively, I would say, beautiful area as well. And it's closer to the airport, which I did appreciate. A less of a drive. And an easier drive, so to speak. You're not going up too much because it seems like it's on the same level as what Salt Lake City was on, maybe a little bit higher, but you're not, because in Colorado when you take the I-70, it's a lot of windy roads and 2-lane roads up to the mountain resorts, but it seems like you didn't have to go through too many winding roads on the way from the airport.
So, a fun fact that I just Googled because I was curious. Speaking of the elevation, Salt Lake City's elevation is 4,200 feet, and the base elevation of Park City Mountain is 6,900, which is kind of shocking to me because, like you said, it didn't feel like we were driving uphill that much. But obviously,
it was a slow, gradual progression like it was when we drove from Kansas to Colorado.
But you're definitely right, because I feel like from Denver to the ski resorts, like an hour and a half to 2 hours away from us, it's like you go really, really steep uphill and then you drive downhill, and then there's just a lot of those ups and downs. So it feels like you're going uphill a lot of the time, but the drive to the Park City Mountain must have been super gradual, because I did not think the elevation difference would be that big, I guess, for lack of a more interesting word. But yeah, so it sounds like
you just said it reached your number one spot. Do you want to give a reason why? You just said it took the spot. I don't think you got into it.
Yeah, I was curious about your thoughts. But I was actually going to go back to that. So you mentioned some great points, Adam. The fact that it's closer to the airport, I like, because it's easier to get there. The fact that parking is free at Vail, which was my previous number one. There is free parking, but it's further and you have to take a shuttle. Unless there's free parking that I'm not aware of. But the the place we always park is a garage, and it's paid, and you have to walk through the little mountain villagey thing with a bunch of shops and restaurants to the actual base of the mountain where you can put your skis on and then get going. Well, technically you wouldn't put your skis on because there's a gondola, but that's really technical. But anyway, so Vail, you have to pay a bunch and walk pretty far, which is annoying. And usually we walk in our like winter snow boots and carry our ski boots and then change and just leave our snow boots in a little basket in like a lodge area. But that's another $10. So we're talking Vail is like $40 a day for parking plus the convenience of not having to walk in your ski boots like a quarter of a mile. Park City, the parking, it took us, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, maybe less to walk all the way to the actual lift. We always stopped for like a bathroom break and fixing our boots and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the convenience factor is huge to me because when you go for several days, that you could potentially be saving a lot of money on parking and not having
lodging. I think it's probably cheaper as well.
Lodging is also cheaper based on my research on VRBO and what the condo was where we stayed. So anyway, those two, convenience at the mountain and then proximity to the airport, are important, but that's not what pushed me over the top. Pushed me over the top pushed Park City, I guess, to the top of the list, was really how expansive it is, because there are over almost 350 trails. 350 trails. That's like not almost double. But Vail has 190, and I feel like Vail has a lot, but here
has double what Telluride has.
Oh, is Telluride around 170?
I think so.
Wow. That's incredible.
Well,
but
Telluride, maybe even less. I may have like a 140. I could be wrong. I'll look it up as you continue
my spiel.
Yeah.
As I like to. So the sheer options, the vast amount of options of trails I enjoyed, because I feel like at other mountains, I mean, there's still a lot of trails, but I feel like I find myself and us when we ski going on like the same handful of trails just because we know them and we like them, and the way that Vail is set up, like I like two sections of it, but the other whole side of the mountain I don't usually ski because it has
148. Sorry to interrupt. You can continue.
No, you're fine. 148, so it's more than double.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Has 200 more.
That blows my mind, really. It does. But yeah, so just the fact that there's so many trails, I think we did a few more than once, maybe twice or 3 times, but when we were there, actually, there was over 27 inches, so over 2 feet of snow fell in 48 hours. So 2 feet of snow in 2 days, and it was pretty windy, so with all the powder and the snow and the weather conditions, we weren't actually able to ski some of the parts we wanted to, because, do you want to get into the whole...
No, you can continue, since you're on a roll.
Okay. Well, so the background behind, I guess, the Park City Mountain Resort and why it's so massive is that if you look it up on a map, because it's kind of hard to explain a visual if you don't have it in front of you, or you can just listen and try to imagine. So there used to be 2 separate resorts. Park City Resort was on the left of this mountain if you're standing and looking straight at it. And then there was a resort called Canyons Resort on the right. And they were 2 separate resorts, which to me at this point seems really stupid that they weren't together. But I guess I don't know the history behind like which one was there first and all of that. But anyway, so Canyons Resort was owned by Vail Resorts, which is who owns Vail and Breckenridge.
Well, they don't technically own it. They have a lease.
Oh, is it a lease?
Long-term lease. 50 years, actually.
Huh.
And they can renew it 6 times, 50 years each. We'll be long dead by the time that lease comes up.
True. 300 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
Long dead. I mean, by then, who knows what will be going on with the planet, so.
True.
Skiing might not even be a thing. I don't know. It's hard to imagine. But anyway, so Park City's on the left. Canyons Resort is on the right. Vail had a lease for Canyons Resort. So Canyons Resort was part of the ski pass that Adam and I have now. And so were some of the resorts in Colorado. And then in 2015, so just 4 years ago, Vail Resorts bought Park City and then merged so Park City was the one on the left. So they bought it and then merged it with a neighboring Canyons Resort that they already had a lease on. So after Vail Resorts bought Park City and then merged the two resorts, the issue was that the two resorts used to be totally separate. So there had to be a way to get from one to the other if it was going to be one like mega resort, if you will. So they added a gondola to connect the two sides, which to me was really cool because without the gondola, you would never know that there's another resort right next to it because the gondola goes kind of up above the mountain or the canyon and then back down into the second resort. So I liked the gondola, but what I was trying to get to with all of this was that when for a few of the days that we skied, the gondola that connected the two resorts was actually closed because of weather. So we weren't able to experience all 348 trails.
Well, we got to experience the first 2 days. Well, the first 2 days that I was there, of course. I wasn't there the whole time because I don't have as much vacation days as somebody else. But we mainly went there. I don't know if you mentioned it, but it was your birthday weekend.
Yeah.
That's the main reason we went there. But you ended up staying there for about a week, and I was there for 4 days or so because your parents flew out as well and had a nice birthday week celebration type deal. So,
yep, my parents were there with us, and it was all of our first time at Park City, which was kind of cool because we got to experience it all together. But yeah, so the gondola was pretty cool, and the only bummer, I guess, was when my personal preference out of Park City and the Canyons Resort was Canyons Resort. And when we parked at Park City, we couldn't actually get to Canyons. So it was just a little bit of a bummer.
I did suggest multiple times just park at Canyons if you guys liked it more. But no one took that suggestion.
Oh, we took it on the second to last day.
Till the day after I left.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of canyons, do you want to jump into some of the history, I guess, behind Canyons and Park City, like way back in the day?
Sure, why not? Just let all the hot listeners learn something. We'll teach them something, learn them something, whatever. So apparently it was incorporated, Park City was incorporated as a city in 1884, and the mountain was apparently abundant with silver veins, which I guess makes sense because when you're skiing through Park City, you can actually see a lot of the old mining facilities that they use throughout, which I thought was a nice touch. And me being a history person, I always like a touch with history and just imagining what it was like back then, because I can imagine miners or whatever they were doing back then to get the silver probably were not skiing up and down the hills, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're having a good old time in their miner hats skiing down back to their old house and then walking up the next day. I don't know. But however, with falling mineral prices in the 1930s, the booming years ended and residents began mining the treasures on the mountain and discovering what later would be called the greatest snow on Earth. It's really called that?
I don't know. I've never heard that, but that's according to, I believe, the Park City website.
That's a nice pun, though, I guess. But in 2002, I don't know what sounds better, 2002 or 2002. I like 2000. 2002, Park City became a field of dreams for athletes at the Winter Olympic Games. Park City Mountain hosted 4 events. 6 of the 10 U.S. ski and snowboard team medals were won on that mountain. That's fun. We also have history of the purchase and how much they paid. Do you want to? Vail Resorts paid like $180 million, which is a lot, but I'm assuming they probably recoup that eventually with the amount of people that are there.
Yeah, they paid a lot to buy it, but then the business they get from it probably is a good return on investment in the future.
Mm-hmm. But I think overall it was a good experience in Park City. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy so much the 2 feet worth of powder that we received, because if anybody's not familiar with skiing, when you have skinnier skis, it's more difficult to ski in powder because it doesn't distribute your weight as much. And I know you, Marta, you demoed wider skis because you felt the need that you wanted newer skis to begin with, since your skis were, 10 years old. So you demoed wider, like 90-inch skis.
They weren't 90 inches.
Weren't they? 90 centimeters? Sorry.
They were 100, so the height was 149 centimeters, but it was 90, I think, millimeters wide.
Millimeters? That's 9 centimeters.
Well, they weren't 90 inches wide.
That's why I switched it to centimeters.
But they weren't 90 centimeters wide.
You sure?
I'm positive. There's 2.54 centimeters and an inch. So 90 centimeters would be 45 inches wide. They were like no wider than
But millimeters
my
seems
hand.
really tiny. Was it decameters? Decimeters?
They probably were about 4 or 5 inches wide, which is 90 centimeters. Or 90 millimeters.
Okay. You're probably right. I'm normally wrong.
But they were... The whole point was the wider skis are easier on the powder. Because you have the more surface area to distribute your weight when you're going on the really, really soft snow.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that funny story, a funny event that happened on the mountain?
Mm-mm.
When I tried to take us to a blue for a warm-up, and we ended up on a black, and I had no idea. And then my dad was like, "This is double jack." And I was like, "Double black?" He's like, "No, double jack, but it's a single black." I was like really confused, because when he said double jack, I thought I took us on a double black diamond. And I'm pretty sure it was a little bit powdery that day.
Yeah, that was the first day of powder.
But you killed it.
Thanks.
That was hard. I mean, skiing in powder is hard in general if you're not used to it. But the thing I like about it is not like struggling to turn. The part I like is when you're skiing on the part where no one skied before, so your ski tracks are the first there, and it just feels like you're gliding. I like it more on the flatter parts, not when it's steep and powdery, because I don't know how to ski that very well.
Yeah, it sounds nice, but I don't think I experienced that when we were there. We didn't go on trails that were never experienced before. Whenever we went on the powder stuff, it was already people skiing down it, and the reason I don't like powder as much is mainly just because of the bumps that are created from a lot of people skiing down it, which then makes it turn into moguls, which anybody's familiar with moguls, they're a pain in the butt, which are a bunch of just mounds close together, and your knees are bumping up and down, and it makes the ride less smooth. I mean, I guess that's still why I'm a beginner skier, is that I like the groomed, more straightforward slopes instead of all the bumps and stuff. It throws me off. And I was going to say I get motion sick, but that's a little extreme. But just bouncing up and down kind of is tiring, in my opinion.
That's fair. I feel like moguls are definitely an acquired/learned taste. I still don't like them because I prefer
But
doing...
I'll definitely experience them according to your dad.
I thought you said you'll definitely like them when you're a better skier.
I don't know what the exact words. He
Oh.
said you'll definitely do them or something like that.
So maybe in a few years you'll feel bored on the groomed stuff and you'll love powder and you'll just want the next level of skiing, which will be moguls. I don't know. But yeah, it was a really fun experience overall. Obviously, I liked it because I said it was my number one favorite mountain now. So I'm definitely looking forward to going back. Not quite sure when that will happen yet, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
I mean, we're going back to Vail sometime in the near future, right?
Yeah.
So you can compare then, even though I feel like a lot of times you get caught in the heat of the moment of where we are and why, and you really like that place a lot. It's recency bias. Maybe when you go back to Vail, you'll remember how much you love it and why you love it. Because you mainly love it because of the back bowls, which they are considered legendary, but you don't have it, you don't have any type of back bowls unless you're doing double blacks, really, at Park City. Because I think the way to get to the bowls were you had to hike up to a certain area.
Yeah, the bowls at Park City were a lot more extreme. Whereas Vail, the bowls mostly are black diamonds, but they have I'm pretty sure there's the one blue that we always take down, which is called Poppy Fields. Or no, two. Poppy Fields and Chopsticks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess I can compare when we're there. in the coming weeks, and I can do another evaluation, then afterwards make another decision. Although right now, Park City is my number one. Number one favorite.
I guess since this is probably going to be a relatively shorter episode than usual because Marta's feeling under the weather, I feel like I'm getting there eventually the way I'm feeling at the moment. I don't know. I guess we'll roll into our recommendations for this week. Did you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Yeah, okay. So actually on this trip, I ended up reading a book, a different book than I've been reading because I've been reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that's the right order. I always screw it up. But yeah, I was reading that, but I decided to switch it up because I didn't want to be sitting, I don't know, maybe it was just a subconscious thing or conscious thing where I was a little in my own head, where I didn't want to be reading a book and then taking notes, just like sitting in the living room. I wanted to be like a normal person, just reading without taking notes. So I ended up reading this other book that I had on my Kindle called A River in Darkness, One Man's Escape from North Korea by I don't know why I put the name because I feel like I'm going to screw it up. Masaji Ishikawa. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think I did a pretty good job. Pat myself on the back. But yeah, I mean, it's very straightforward in the title. It's, I think, like 160 or some pages, but I thought it was very interesting reading this person's experience trying to escape from North Korea, where he was originally actually born in Japan. He had a Korean father and a Japanese mother, and this was after World War II, and there were some issues like I guess they had some stereotypes against Koreans, and his father kind of wanted to go back to North Korea because there was, propaganda going on about how North Korea was so amazing, and then they ended up moving there, and he talks about his just growing up there, going through the schooling system, and then having to work, and basically the only way you eat in that country is through working, which if you don't work, you don't eat, which I guess explains why he explained in the book where it's kind of sad for the older people there because they still will have to work throughout their whole entire life just to get these small rations that are given out. And people, he explained how his mother would have to go because she was Japanese. They didn't want to. She wasn't trusted with any type of job, so she had to go try to forage anything that could be eaten in the woods, which was few and far between. And it talked about how I thought it was very fascinating and kind of sad just listening to what people over there in North Korea have to go through and have to live through. And he also talks about some of the propaganda that goes on throughout school and things of that nature. So highly recommended if you're interested in that type of stuff. I thought it was it's a very quick, easy read, and I thought it was very fascinating. So that is my recommendation for this week. Marta, do you have one?
Sure, I do. So related to travel, one's a fun little fact, I guess, and one's a recommendation. So the recommendation is related to booking Southwest flights. So if you're not a Southwest Airlines loyal customer, then you can just fast forward because this one wouldn't be relevant at all. But I've noticed that when Southwest advertises their sales, I get emails from them, or it's on the internet, either on their website or otherwise, people write articles about it. I've noticed when they advertise it, it's not always the best sale because a lot of times I've seen one-way flights from BWI as low as $59. But then that $59 flight is from BWI to Richmond or somewhere super close. So what I've found works for me, and the way I've found most of my kind of pretty cheap deals, I found $59 for as an example, Denver to BWI and vice versa, a lot over the last few months. And the one thing that I do to find those deals is honestly just check during random times and not when they publicize the sale, because I don't know, the sale, when they say it's a sale, I never see that great of deals personally. I'd see deals like when a friend recently was asking if I was going to be in Maryland during a certain time, and I said no, I wasn't planning on it. But then I just hopped on Southwest on their low fare calendar, which if you're not familiar with it, Google Southwest low fare calendar. You can just like play around with the dates. It's kind of like Google Flights, but a little less user friendly because you actually have to click the dates and then it shows you the flight options. But anyway, just by checking like that, I found a round trip from Colorado to Maryland for like $115. So super cheap. Recommend it. And not a recommendation, but like a fun little tidbit. So when I was landing in Denver from Park City, it was snowing in Salt Lake City and it was snowing in Denver. So before we took off in Salt Lake City, our plane got de-iced, and I've never seen that before. So I thought it was really cool because the machine kind of looked like a big crane, and they have like this really high pressure hose that they're spraying the airplane with the de-icing fluid. It was cool because there were 4 of those trucks at the same time, and I was like, I've never seen one, and now there's like 4. So I thought that was really cool. And then I'd never landed in a snowstorm. It was snowing in Denver last night. And there were so many plow trucks and I guess like a police type car that was leading the way with flashing lights, but so many plow trucks plowing the actual runway. And when we landed, the runway was plowed, but like barely. It's like when you use one of those snowblower things for your driveway or sidewalk and it kind of misses some spots. It was kind of like that. And then it took forever to taxi. And I was looking around on the ground and there was so much snow. And I was like, I don't know when they decide to cancel flights, but if I had seen this outside, I probably would have been like, yeah, just cancel my flight. That looks terrifying to land in or take off in. But just like a fun little tidbit because I've never taken off or landed in such a big rainstorm or snowstorm where they de-ice a plane, or when they're like actually actively plowing the runway, not just like sprinkling some salt around. So I thought that was cool. I'm easily amused. So maybe people are like, well, I think that's cool, whatever. Well, I think it's cool. So that's all that matters.
True.
But that's my recommendation, travel related. Duh. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap it up?
No, I wanted to ask you how you felt your birthday weekend went, and that's about it.
Birthday weekend. Well, my birthday was on the Super Bowl, so #blessed that all of America was also celebrating my birthday with me.
I feel like they would rather celebrate your birthday than watch that horrible game.
Well, I didn't want to watch it either. I wasn't even impressed with the halftime. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard a lot of feedback against the halftime show. A lot of people did not like it. I wasn't too much a fan of it either. It didn't sound like that stadium was very conducive to singing. And also, I think Maroon 5 relies on autotune, I feel like, from time to time. Or like distorting the voice in their songs. So maybe it wasn't the best and very conducive. There was definitely better halftime shows.
I mean, some people might have liked it. Personally, it sounds like neither of us were fans of it.
I mean, I do like Maroon 5. I think they're very good, in my opinion. I'd enjoy their music, but I just didn't think this performance was all too hot.
And I feel like it has to be difficult to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show in a football stadium, like you said, because the acoustics are different than what they're used to, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a different environment than a legitimate concert.
Just didn't seem like it had all the bells and visuals that other concerts or halftime shows have had recently. Like, was a more recent one, Katy Perry put on a pretty decent show. I feel like Madonna was recently as well. Had a lot of.
I always forget.
Bruno
after.
Mars was last year, was it 2 years ago? What was last year? I don't even remember. And the Eagles were in the Super Bowl and won. Thank you very much. But I just don't remember the halftime show.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But anyway, my birthday was awesome because we got to ski all day, and skiing's my favorite. And then had some good food for dinner. It was nice to celebrate with Adam and my parents. My mom got emotional because she was like, yeah, when your kids grow up, you don't always get to celebrate your birthday with them. So it's so nice that we're celebrating together.
Yeah, and when we have kids, then our birthdays are thrown out the window.
Yeah, so might as well enjoy my birthday, celebrating my birthday before I have children, because I feel like once you have kids, it's all about them. And I mean, obviously you should still have like your own hobbies and your own things, but obviously turning 37 or whatever is less exciting than like your kid's first birthday, and you have to plan parties for them and all that. But I guess if we're still doing the hot pod when we have children, we can update our listeners on what kind of birthday parties we're planning and the latest gear we're buying our children, toys,
Here.
whatever. Probably going to buy them skis before they can walk.
Gotta have to make sure somebody babysits the little one as we record the podcast, so we don't have somebody sitting on our lap talking into the microphone as we record.
They can take a nap during that time. If there's any parents listening, they're probably like, yeah, good luck getting your kid to take a nap when you want them to.
Mhm.
Okay, it was a joke. I don't actually know how kids work or how you get them to do anything like sleep when you want them to sleep, which you probably can't. It's probably like they run the world and you're just living in it.
Uh-huh. How are you gonna feel about that, though, babe?
I don't know. I'm an only child, so
You're gonna miss all the attention on you
probs.
when we have kids?
But they'll probably be
And
just
your-
like me.
And your parents are gonna be paying attention to them more than you?
I don't know what it'll be like.
Getting jealous of your own kids. That's funny, I think.
I'm not jealous of my kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. But anyway, it'll be interesting. But anyway, I did enjoy my birthday.
That's good.
Yeah, it was fun. It's weird. 25. I'm 25. If you don't know me in real life, with this
Woo.
nasal congestion thing on this episode, it probably sounds like. Not. It doesn't really sound like I smoke a lot, because then your voice is like really raspy.
You just sound nasally.
Yeah. So I probably don't sound any older or younger per
Mhm.
se. But yeah, 25 is weird because you're between 20 and 30. But I don't really feel like the past few years since I graduated college at age 22, I don't feel like much has. Yeah, we got married and we moved and all that, but I don't feel like mentally I've changed that much.
All I know is I've gotten even more handsome, and you've gotten more beautiful, obviously.
Oh, how nice. But yeah, it's weird because in high school or middle school, when I knew people that were in their 20s, I was like, oh my gosh, right now I don't have a clue what I'm doing with my life. But when I'm their age, 25, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm 25, I'm like, do I know what I'm doing?
That's a secret that no one tells you, is that you look at older people and they have zero clue as much as you do as to what they are doing.
Yeah, which is definitely not helpful. Like, I was hoping to have it figured out, but I don't think that's actually a thing. You can't have everything figured out.
Maybe, hopefully, eventually we'll have it figured out. Maybe by when we have kids, I would think.
I think the trick
Actually,
is...
maybe not. It's just sort of like a, hey, you should do this and figure it out along the way type deal.
I think the trick is to make your kids think that you have it all figured out.
Trick them
Yeah.
into falling to the same trap that we fell into.
Well, you're not going to be like, hey, kid, actually, I'm your mom, but I don't have a freaking clue what I'm doing. That'll give them no confidence. They'll be terrified. They'll be like, my mom just told me she doesn't know what she's doing with her life. But anyway, kind of ranty. But it was a good birthday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Glad you had
Yeah.
a good time. I hope everybody here listening had a good time, because this has been episode 35 of Husband and Wife Talks. We apologize if the audio is not as good, because one of us is tired and the other is unfortunately under the weather.
A little nasally.
Just a tiny bit. But we try to put something out there for y'all, so you guys have something to listen to from the Husband and Wife Talks podcast. I'm sure it's still amazing, even though we weren't 100%. But next week, we shall be 100%, right?
110%.
110%.
Unless I'm still sick somehow.
I feel like we would need to go to the doctor then if you're still sick by next week.
Well, it's Thursday, and we usually record Monday or Tuesday, so it wouldn't be that long. Sometimes colds take like a week or two.
Yeah, but it seems like it's been a week already.
No, I woke up sick on my birthday 4 days ago.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see.
I still think you'll be cleared up by then, which next Tuesday will be out. Don't worry.
Yep.
There'll be a podcast next Tuesday. We promise. Again, sorry for the delay for the podcast, but this has been episode 35. We appreciate you all so much. Remember, share us with your friends and family if you think they'll enjoy this podcast, which I think they will. We are available everywhere. Apple Podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, obviously give us a 5-star review. We're on Overcast, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, all those places. Please share us with your friends and family. As I already mentioned, you can find in the description below how to email us if you want to email us questions for the show or just things you just want to say nice things to us. That'd be nice too. We always like, appreciation. And you can also find our Twitter and Facebook page in the description as well. So everything's there. Just look for it. You should be able to find it. I believe in you. This has been episode 35. We appreciate you all. I think it's time to say bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.